Hello, everybody, and welcome to Behind the Comics, where I tell you the stories behind the comics that I own and why you should or shouldn't consider owning these comics yourself. My name is E. Christopher Clark, Chris Clark for short, and I run a site called GeekForce5.com. I want to talk today, in this first episode, about the comic that got me into comics. That comic would be Uncanny X-Men number 268, featuring Captain America, the Black Widow, and Wolverine. Now, what strikes me most about this comic and why I think I picked it up, I had an awareness of the X-Men, an awareness of Captain America, and the hots for anybody, any woman with red hair. That's sort of what it comes down to. And this was my first sort of inkling about a shared universe, about Marvel existing as a shared universe. The fact that Captain America was in the same comic book with Wolverine, that just blew my mind. I was like, what is going on here? Have to pick this up, have to read it. My uncle had given me comics before. Then I had read hardcover collections in the library, so I was up on the basics on the Fantastic Four, on Captain America, on X-Men, on the Avengers. But this was the first book that I picked up with my own money, or that I asked for money right then and there to go buy. It was a buck at the time, and it came out in late September of 1990, or that's what it's dated. Of course, those of you who collect comics know that the fact that it's dated late September 1990 means that it might have come out in the summertime at some point. What is really striking about this book, it says a lot about me as a comic book collector. The writing is by Chris Claremont. This is getting towards the end of his many year run. The art is by Jim Lee, who would go on to fame as one of the heads of Wildstorm, and who has recently done work on Batman and Superman, and did a lot of the prototypes for the DC Universe Online. He's head of Wildstorm now. And Jim Lee remains one of my favorite artists. A lot of people think, what's with all the lines, in this modern day and age where coloring techniques are a lot more sophisticated, you don't really need a lot of lines for shading. But back then, you sort of needed a lot of the line work. Maybe not as much as the 90s artists gave us, but you did need more line work. And Jim Lee remains one of my favorites. So the story starts in 1941, and it's in the I think it's an Asian country of Madripoor. Of course, there are ninjas, so we'll assume it's Asian. Captain America is battling, and all of a sudden this dude, Wolverine, pops in. They team up, and at this point he's just Logan, They team up in the past. We then flash forward 49 years into the future, and Logan is in the same area with Psylocke and Jubilee, two X-Men you may recall if you watched the 90s era cartoon. I think they were both bigs on that. So we get this past story and we get this present story. We get lots of hot women. Jim Lee likes to draw those, which to pubescent me was a number one reason to buy comics. What we also get is this great story of the X-Men all over the place. They're in small little units, and that's my favorite thing about this era of the X-Men, is that they're all in small little units all over the place. And I think that's what makes the early 90s X-Men a great time to read X-Men. They haven't come back together in yet. They will shortly, about a year later, I think. You know what? Not even a year later. A month or so later, in Extinction Agenda, one of my favorite crossovers. They'll come together, all the X-Men teams. But right now, they're sort of all split apart. We get to see them doing all sorts of different things in different areas of the world. And it has a great sense of drama that I think is lacking in until most recently, where they've started to do this sort of thing again in the Uncanny X-Men title. Definitely worth picking up this crossover. It's a great standalone issue, showing Logan and Captain America teaming up. And, where I'd close on this, looking back at this issue, gives me some really, really fantastic hopes. Some out there ideas about what Marvel could do with its movie franchises. And I know this will never happen, but it's still sort of my dream. Okay, we're all anticipating an Avengers movie. They're setting it up with Iron Man and with the Incredible Hulk. They've set it up. They set up this shared universe in the movies with certain properties. And they're going to continue this with Iron Man 2 and a movie that is, I guess, very clunkily called Captain America, the First Avenger, something to that effect. So they're setting it all up with certain characters that are very, very hardcore Avenger characters. What I would really like to see is see Marvel bring in some of the characters that they've put in the hands of other companies. I know that legally this is never going to work, but I would love to see Spider-Man in an Avengers movie. I would love to see Wolverine in an Avengers movie. Now, there's a Wolverine movie coming out in 2009. Wouldn't it be awesome if they somehow, just hit us over the head with a connection that we weren't at all expecting? I know it won't happen, but it would be awesome if Wolverine was tied in with the Avengers universe. It would do amazing things for me. And I think that's where we'll wrap it up for today on this very first episode of Behind the Comics. And I will catch you next time on the flip side.